For my thoughts on all the latest happenings in the NFL in a completely relaxed, unscripted format, be sure to check out my channel, JG9 News. And now, on with our feature presentation. Remember the game show Deal or No Deal? I loved this show growing up, and I used to watch it just about every single day when it aired. And the revival that aired a few years ago was great as well. For those who don't remember this show, or for those who never played the game at Dave & Buster's, which I'm assuming a lot of you did, seeing as that game always had a line, which was quite literally the only game, no matter which Dave & Buster's you went to in the country, to have a line because of how many tickets you could win for a low entry fee. Here's how it works. There are 26 cases, each with varying money values ranging from 1 cent to $1 million. Without knowing what's inside any of the cases, you pick a case to be your own, and one by one, you eliminate cases, and the money in each case that you pick is revealed. After a certain number of cases per round are called, the game comes to a halt, and the banker gives you an offer to walk away right now. It is your job at that point to take the deal that the banker gives, or to say no deal, and to keep playing, risking the possibility of walking away with absolutely nothing. So I want to give you this scenario. Suppose there are 10 cases left on the board. One of them happens to be the coveted $1 million case, but the rest of the cases flat out stink. They're all cases on the left side of the board, and they're the 9 worst cases you can get. I'm talking a penny, $1, $5, $10. Basically, the next best case on the board minus the million is the $200 case, which doesn't even cover your travel costs. The banker gives you an offer right now to walk away with $100,000. $100K, 6 figures, a fairly significant sum of money. Statistically speaking, you're not winning the $1 million. The odds are downright terrible. If you don't take this, you're likely walking away with nothing barring a complete miracle. And yet, you decide, like a complete moron, to pass up on free money and say no deal, even if the odds are completely against you. Shocker, you don't wind up with the $1 million case. And you walk away with nothing. Seems really stupid, right? Well, a similar situation involved this man right here on the Tennessee Titans, a wide receiver by the name of Tyrone Calico. Odds are, unless you are a Middle Tennessee State fan, or are a diehard Titans fan who lived during the era in which he played in, you don't remember too much about Calico, or this might even be your first exposure to the former second-round pick. However, today, he might be best known for 2 things. Number 1, in 2004, he got horse-collar tackled in a preseason game by Dallas Cowboys safety Roy Williams. And number 2, he made one of the dumbest financial decisions possible when he refused to accept a trade for a pretty hefty sum of money, only to walk away with absolutely nothing. Why he decided to do this? I'm not sure. But we're going to take a deep dive into this whole saga today. Because this is the story behind what might just be, considering the circumstances, the stupidest uniform controversy and one of the dumbest players ever in the over 60-year history of the Tennessee Titans franchise. Before I talk about the incident in question, we need some context to understand how good the player in question was, and what his roster status was heading into this all-important season. The year is 2006. And this man right here, wide receiver Tyrone Calico, is about to enter his 4th season in the National Football League. To say that his first 3 years in the NFL up until this point were disappointing would be putting it lightly. There were 4 receivers taken in the second round of the 2003 NFL Draft. One of them was a massive success and a whole very good receiver by the name of Anquan Boldin. The other 3, not so much, including Washington wideout Taylor Jacobs with pick number 44, New England wideout Bethel Johnson with pick number 45, and Tennessee wideout Tyrone Calico with pick number 60, who, after a solid career at Middle Tennessee State, where he had 194 receptions, 2,636 yards, and 17 receiving touchdowns, wasn't quite sticking on in the NFL. Through his first 3 seasons with the Titans, Calico was a massive disappointment. That entire draft class for the Titans was disappointing. It might be one of the worst draft classes in team history, but Calico in particular was expected to do way more than what he actually did. Granted, some of that was injury-related, especially after that horse collar tackle in the 2004 preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys. But a lot of that was just general inefficiency, mainly the fact that as a wide receiver, you're supposed to be able to catch the ball, and Calico could not catch the ball. From 2003 to 2005, the average receiver caught around 60% of their passes thrown their way. Calico's career average through those 3 years was 47.2%. He couldn't create a ton of separation, but he made up for it by dropping a lot of passes. I really had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to find clips of Calico doing anything in his career, because it was not a lot. Said head coach Jeff Fisher heading into the 2006 season, "Consistency is the issue with the hands. The legs are there, and the understanding is there. He's just been inconsistent catching it, and he needs to continue to work on that." Always what you want to hear out of a coach talking about a wide receiver. It's like when you draft a quarterback, and he's not good, and you say that he has bad accuracy and needs to work on that. Always a sign of faith. Through 3 years, Calico's numbers were 42 receptions for 501 yards and 4 touchdowns. That was it. For a second-round pick, those aren't even good numbers for a season. For an entire career through 3 years? Yeah, that's brutal. He hadn't caught a touchdown pass since 2003, so he had gone the last 2 seasons without a touchdown. And in 2005, he finished the year with 22 receptions for 191 yards and no touchdowns. The Titans' offense was already not that good in 2005. There's a reason Tennessee ended that season with a 4-12 record and with an offense that ranked 21st in the league out of 32 teams. There were 40 players in the NFL that season to have at least 750 receiving yards, and the Titans boasted none of them. So keep all of that in mind. The Titans didn't have stiff competition at wide receiver. It was slim pickings for the most part. Still, despite that, Tyrone Calico finished just 9th on the team that year in receiving yards. Do names like Aaron Kinney, Royale Williams, and Courtney Roby ring any bells? No? Well, they were all players on the Titans in 2005, and they all had more receiving yards than Calico had. And all indications pointed to the fact that Tyrone Calico would have a massive uphill climb to make it onto the roster in 2006. Number one, he only had 1 year left on his contract, so the Titans could cut him and not really incur any penalty. It was a very easy contract to get off of, and the Titans very clearly did not have him in their long-term plans, realizing that this pick, much like just about the entire 2003 draft class for them, was a waste. Number two, there were 4 wide receivers ahead of Calico in yardage in 2005. 3 of them were Brandon Jones, Royale Williams, and Courtney Roby. All 3 of them were rookies in 2005. The Titans really went heavy on drafting wideouts that year, with Jones and Roby being 3rd-round picks and Williams being a 4th-round pick. They were all cheaper, they all had more control contract-wise, they were all younger, they all had better numbers, and they had more potential entering their 2nd year than Calico had entering his 4th. The other one was Drew Bennett, who led the team in receiving in 2005, and in 2004 had 80 receptions for 1,247 yards and 11 touchdowns. He was their number 1 receiver in the prime of his career, so he was safe. That's 4 guys ahead of this man right here, Tyrone Calico, on the depth chart already. Number 3, if that wasn't enough, the Titans drafted a wide receiver in 2006, drafting Wisconsin wideout Jonathan Orr. You figured that he had priority over Calico as well, since rookie draft picks get a ton of leeway over non-performing players who had years to prove themselves in the NFL. That's 5 wideouts ahead of Calico. In fact, this was so obvious that the Titans were planning to move on from Calico after the draft pick that an article came out explicitly saying that it seems as though the Titans have prepared themselves to move on from Calico. The writing was on the wall to anyone paying attention. And the big one, number 4, the Titans made a huge splash in free agency, signing this man right here, New England Patriots wideout and legend David Gibbons. When free agency opened up, the Titans gave Gibbons a 5-year contract worth $24 million, including an $8 million signing bonus. Givens was an instrumental part in helping the Patriots win 2 Super Bowls. And over the last 2 seasons before joining the Titans, he had become Tom Brady's go-to guy, recording 115 catches for 1,612 yards. Givens played in 8 playoff games during his time with the Pats, and scored a touchdown in 7 of them, including both Super Bowl 38 over the Carolina Panthers and Super Bowl 39 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Behind Steelers Hall of Fame wide receiver John Stallworth, who had 8, his 7 straight playoff games with a touchdown catch was the second most in NFL history at the time. He was as clutch as they came, and he was joining the Titans in the hopes that he and Bennett could become a great 1-2 combo for whoever would become their quarterback, which eventually would be a Texas rookie and national champion named Vince Young. So obviously, Givens was making the roster. That's 6, count them, 6 receivers ahead of Calico on the depth chart, and quite comfortably ahead of him, I might add. Calico was not making this team. It would have taken an act of God for him to do it. However, as you're watching these highlights of David Givens, you might notice something a bit interesting, and that is his jersey number. Because David Givens wore the number 87, and if you watch the highlights of Tyrone Calico, you'll also know that he wore the number 87 jersey. Because Calico was on the roster and had the number 87 jersey, he had priority. The only way for Givens to get that number 87 jersey for him was to get him to change numbers. Now, I should also note that some players have a special reason for picking their jersey number. Some players do it to honor a loved one. Some players do it because it's the number they wore their entire life. Some players do it because it's a lucky number. Some players do it because it sends a message. Maurice Jones-Drew, for instance, chose the number 32 jersey because 32 teams passed on him at the NFL draft before the Jaguars eventually chose him in the second round. Tyrone Calico was not one of those players. He didn't wear the number 87 jersey in college. At Middle Tennessee State, he wore the number 27 jersey. And it's not because someone else had the number 87 jersey or anything like that. The man who wore the number 87 jersey for Middle Tennessee State in 2002, as in Calico's final season with the team, was Ryan Emerson. He joined the team in 2001. Calico had been with the team since 1999, so if the number 87 jersey meant that much to him on a personal level, he easily could have switched the moment that Ryan Smith, the previous number 87 jersey owner, graduated after the 2000 season. Players do that all the time. Calico didn't do that. From everything I could gather, there was no real reason for Calico to wear the number 87 jersey. It was just a number. No sentimental meaning or attachment or anything like that. It was just a random number. Now for David Givens, he wanted to take the number 87 jersey off of this man right here, Tyrone Calico, which made sense, seeing as he wore number 87 with the Patriots. And unlike Calico, people actually associated him with that number, seeing as he caught touchdowns in the Super Bowl and won playoff games with that number. Givens was initially assigned the number 89 jersey, seeing as the number 87 jersey was taken, and you can't have 2 players wearing the same number. But he really wanted that number 87 jersey. So with some of the money he just got off that contract of his, he decided to make Calico an offer. Here's $10,000. I give you 5 figures, and you swap jersey numbers with me. Again, as we've already established, Calico had about a 0% chance of making the roster. Half the receivers on the team would have had to die for him to have a shot at playing with Tennessee in 2006, and anyone with the brain could have seen that. But Calico declined. He turned down a free $10,000. 5 figures to give up his jersey number, which he's going to have to give up anyways when he inevitably gets cut from the team. And he said no. But Givens wasn't done bargaining, because then he doubled the offer. Givens offered Calico $20,000 for that number 87 jersey. And keep in mind, Calico wasn't making a lot of money to the point where $20,000 is chump change. He knows his days in the NFL are numbered, and he was averaging somewhere around $500,000 a season, and this was the last year of his contract. You can take that $20,000 right now, you immediately invest it, and in 40 years' time, using compound growth and assuming an average interest rate of 7% over that period, that $20,000 becomes $300,000. And that's assuming you invest nothing else. Let's say you invest 20% of your income, which is what financial experts recommend you do when you're Calico's age at 25 years old. He was making $500,000 that season. So invest 20% of that, and you get $100,000 in investments. Add that into the free money he's getting with the free $20,000. Now, compound growth that, and assuming you add nothing else, that's $1.8 million that he's walking away with in 40 years' time in the year 2045. And again, that's with the $100,000 invested as 20% of his salary. Just the $20,000 alone invested becomes $300,000. I cannot emphasize and stress enough how insane you have to be, or how careless you have to be, or how financially irresponsible you have to be to not take this deal. And yes, I may or may not have been working on this video while watching Caleb Hammer's financial audit. But you are set for retirement for life by taking this offer. Either way, even if by some miracle, Calico makes the roster in 2006, he's a free agent at the end of the year, and the Titans clearly prepared to move on from him, as evidenced by the Gibbons contract and the influx of receivers they drafted in 2005 and 2006. So he won't be wearing that number anyway with the team in 2007. In the absolute best case scenario, unless Calico morphs into prime Randy Moss, Calico has 1 year left with the number 87 jersey as it is. In 99.9% of all scenarios, he doesn't make the roster, and the number becomes free as it is for Gibbons to take. And amazingly enough, Tyrone Calico didn't take the deal. It was literally free money that you're not going to get another chance at getting. This is something that has no sentimental value to you. This is something that you're going to be forced to do anyway. Take the deal! Take the freaking deal! Because you know what eventually happened? To the shock of no one, Calico didn't make the roster. He was cut shortly after this. And David Gibbons ended up getting the number 87 jersey without having to fork over $20,000 to do so. Said Gibbons on this, I offered him $10,000 at first. Then, it was $20,000. It's the story of my career, being patient and letting things work out. The number is kind of who I am. Since I have been in the NFL, 87 has been my number. He then added, unfortunately, Ty got cut. He's my buddy, and I would like to see him here, but things work out in weird ways, and I'm happy I got my number back. And Gibbons is probably really happy that he got his number back without having to make a dent in his bank account. Not that $20,000 is going to make too much of a dent when you just got an $8 million signing bonus and signed a $25 million contract. Now, David Gibbons' time with the Titans, as in the team behind me right here, was incredibly tumultuous, and that's putting it lightly. He only played 5 games with the team in 2006 before tearing his ACL. He didn't play in 2007, and then after he got cut by the Titans after that 2007 season, sued the team for $25 million due to how they handled the injury, though the lawsuit went nowhere. As for Tyrone Calico, he never played professional football again. That was his last rodeo. Now, from everything I could find and gather, he seems like a nice guy, but I'm sure he would want that money right about now. I'm sure he has some regrets about that decision to not take the $20,000 and basically be set for retirement for life. Then again, who hasn't made dumb financial decisions in their 20s? Also, as a side note, I had to look just out of curiosity at Tyrone Calico's Wikipedia page, just because my rule of thumb is that, for the most part, if I can find it on Wikipedia, I never use it in a story. And I love this statement that made it seem like the horse collar tackle ended his career. It says, after a knee injury caused by an illegal horse collar tackle from Ward Williams, he never recovered the same and was eventually cut by the Titans after 2005. Did someone in Calico's family write that? Seriously? Number one, it wasn't illegal back in the 2004 preseason. It only became illegal in 2005. You made it seem like Williams made a dirty play when that was perfectly legal at the time. Number two, the statement makes it seem like his knees were the problem. They weren't. No, his route running wasn't good, and you could somewhat attribute that to the knees, I guess, but it wasn't good before the injury. A preview of the 2004 season from Sports Illustrated, so before the injury happened, said that Calico was a 4-3 burner with questionable route running skills. Plus, his hands were a major problem. We already established that when Jeff Fisher flat out said that the man couldn't catch the ball, and last time I checked, the horse collar tackle didn't impact his catching ability. And number 3, the statement implies that he was good beforehand and was crushing it. He was not in the slightest bit. As a rookie, he had 18 receptions for 297 yards. This is not a Robert Edwards situation where he was never the same after that injury during Pro Bowl weekend. This is not a Maurice Jones-Drew situation where he was never the same after that injury in 2012 against the Oakland Raiders. No, Tyrone Calico was not good. He was not good. The framing of this page is hysterical and just objectively incorrect, and I had to point that out. So as a word of advice to any players who are on the roster bubble and likely will be making the team as free agency is approaching, if someone offers you money to do something that you've got to do anyway, take the money. It's free. Take the deal. Take the freaking deal. It's like this. If you place a $100 bet at a sportsbook that the Titans are going to beat the Chiefs are up 42-0 in the fourth quarter, and the book, for some crazy reason, offers you $400 to cash out right now, despite the fact that your team is down by 6 scores, and you don't take that, you're a moron. And that's what Tyrone Calico was here. Because when it came to the entire saga involving David Givens and his jersey number in 2006, Calico wasn't giving in to Givens. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.